I'm Dr. Adekunle Adeniji, the director of the Polio Laboratory in Ibadan. The laboratory started in 1997 just as polio isolation lab. We were only isolating viruses from samples. Later in 2005, the ITD component was added, but only using probe hybridization and ELISA methods. We were the first in Afro that changed from conventional PCR to real-time PCR. In 2011, we added another big lab, so to say, and that is the Environmental Surveillance Laboratory, and also as first in Afro.
The two samples that we work on majorly in this lab is the AFP sample, which is the stool sample, and the sewage water that we used for environmental surveillance work. DSNO officer bring the sample, we receive from them. The staff receiving the sample, we fully kitted, receive the sample, keep it in the freezer under lock and key until when we are ready to work with the sample. Assuming we are ready to work with the sample on that very day, we move the sample from the reception room to the treatment room. For AFP, we treat the sample to remove all the contaminants, microorganisms that might be present. And what we do, we use some chemicals. What we have after the treatment is our inoculum, which we assume that it contains the polio virus. We have a stable autoclave that is close to the room. Immediately we treat the sample, we make sure that all the material used, the centrifuge tubes that are used in the processing of the sample, will be autoclaved right away. In isolation room, the cells that is going to be used for inoculation will be labeled accordingly. We have two types of cells that we use. We have L20B cell line and we have RD cell line. The two are majorly used for poliovirus isolation. We introduced our inoculum, which is the poliovirus suspension that has been processed. We introduce them into the cell lines. The sample that is introduced into the cell line, we keep them for like 10 days. The first 5 days is for the first inoculation, which I called fresh inoculation. We have what we call isolate. That is, if the virus is positive in our cell lines. The isolate is what we take to intratypic differentiation room. That is what we call ITD. In ITD, they will process their own sample too. And what do they do with the isolate? We have primers that they use to work on this isolate. It is just to tell us whether the isolate that we have on the suspected polio sample is a Sabin virus or a wild virus. But on the environmental sample, when the sample gets to the environmental surveillance lab, the first thing that we do is documentation. The water is 500 ml that we are going to work with. We reduce that 500 ml, and that is the process we call concentration. Spin it for 1 hour or more on our shaker, and after which we incubate overnight. And we do a kind of separation. We separate our concentrate from the large volume of water. It is this concentrate that we use as an inoculum to introduce into our cell culture. And we continue the observation. After the isolation work, some of the processes are being done in one room. The inoculation and the incubation of our virus is done in the modular lab. Any sample that we have worked on that is negative in the lab, we dispose them. We have our records, we have our documents showing the stages, the time that we dispose our samples. We autoclave them properly and we take them for incineration.